Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Rowling. Do you believe you are capable of choosing your future? Sometimes it takes just one person to believe in you, or you to believe in yourself. If you find yourself continuing to say, someday I will take better care of myself, only to continue living the same day over and over and over again, then you, my friend, are in the right place. I am your biggest cheerleader, inspiring you to become you on purpose and with intention. Are you ready to create a life you love? I'm excited to share with you some big ideas that you can use today to inspire, impact, and influence your life and everyone in it. The Becoming You show starts now. Hello, my friends. How are you? How is your month going? How is your day? How are you? I love that you're here. I hope that you are awesome. How are you managing your time? I have loved hearing from you around this conversation around time, and I have loved hearing from you with regards to decision making and writing our decisions instead of staying stagnant in the land of maybe. I think indecision is the biggest time thief, and so it was interesting to kind of stack those two conversations back to back. But I was talking with my kiddo the other day, and we were talking about if we could either pick to go back in time or go into the future, what would we pick and why? I love this book that me and my kiddo do in the mornings. We've done it so much that we've had to get multiple books, but it allows us to have like deeper conversations other than, well, what do you got going on at school and what projects are due and who are you working with and who are you sitting by and what's for lunch and are you counting down how many days until school? Like it gives us a chance to connect deeper. So I love these books. I would recommend it to any and all of y'all. But in this book, that's what it offered, right? And do you want to go to the past or do you want to go to the future? So for me, I wanted to go back into the past, right? And Max wanted to go into the future. And I thought that was interesting in and of itself, right? I wonder what the percent is of all adults that would want to go back to the past and or the future. Like truly, what would you choose? I would love to know. Like DM me, find me, email me. I would love to know, because not that I'm going to make this a big thesis that I'm going to defend, but I actually really think most adults would go to the past. And I want to kind of walk through and navigate that on today's show and in this conversation. So I chose my past. And the reason why was to be more intentional, to be more present in everything. And I would say that I live pretty intentionally, but as I'm navigating like all of the senior firsts, I find myself reflecting back on what I would give to go back and in time and spend more time with all of my kids in all of the ages, to spend more time with my mom, to take in the moments longer, to take all of the things that I've learned and have integrated back in time, right? To journal more, to be okay with just being and not being busy, right? And although this conversation, it didn't trip me up, it didn't keep me in a world of regret, right? It did provoke an opportunity to journal about what exactly is the past and how it exists in our present. And so in all of my journaling attempts, like it is my hope to bring the conversation forward to you, to any of you that kind of live in the past with regrets and that false argument that we tend to have with ourselves. I have done a tremendous, friends, a tremendous amount of work navigating regrets, regrets of relationships, regrets of conversations, regrets of expectations, regrets of my career, right? So I thought I would just bring this conversation forward today. So let's talk about it. What is your past? What is it? Have you thought about it? I want you to consider that your past, and I say this with all the love in the world, is over. It is. It's over. It no longer exists except in your mind, right? All you have is now, right? And your future is in your imagination. So all you actually ever have is in this moment. And in this moment, all you have is your thoughts that you are thinking, right? People will come to me and they'll say things like, I just feel so disappointed about how our marriage ended, or I just feel so taken advantage of by my employer. Okay? And here is what I want you to know. You are not disappointed because of your past. You are disappointed because of your now thoughts about your past. This is a huge, 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 huge distinction, because the only way your past exists at all is in your thoughts about it in the now. Otherwise, it doesn't affect you in any way, right? Your thought right now about your past does affect you, okay? All of your thinking affects you deeply in this moment. But what has happened to you in your past doesn't. Why is this so important for you to understand? Well, because if your past actually can hurt you in the now, you will forever be at the mercy of whatever your past holds. If, however, the only thing that is hurting you right now is your thoughts about the past, you become brilliantly empowered, because our thoughts are all just optional. Okay. So, to repeat, it's really important that you understand this, friends. Your past is over, it doesn't affect you. And then there are your current thoughts about your past, which do affect you. There's no past feelings. There's no future feelings. There's only now feelings with now thoughts. And here's the thing. I'm not asking you to think happy thoughts about your past if you don't want to, but the invitation is to think intentionally about your past, to think it in a way that allows you to feel what you want to feel. And I know for me, regret, indulgent anger, frustration, bitterness, judgment, blame, they just don't look good on me. They're just not good looks for me. They made me bitter. They made me showing up for my future way harder, right? And again, I'm not trying to be insensitive to whatever it is that you have endured. I'm trying to inspire what it is that you deserve. Okay. So when you think about your past, what comes to mind? If I asked you about your childhood, what would you most likely tell me? Right? You would most likely tell me a story of your past, right? I have always had a few, right? Stories about my dad, stories about my sister, stories about my brother, stories about my mom, stories about my hometown, right? Literally, I wrote all of these stories in my book, No One is Coming to Save You. Okay. If you haven't ordered it yet, I walk through all of these stories through pillars of self-awareness and self-acceptance and self-awakening. It was a really, really fun book, you guys, for me to write, because it helped me bring the peace that I'm looking to offer you in this podcast. If I asked you what happened to you when you were a child, you would most likely tell me your story, your version of your past, right? And here's the thing. I could ask your mother, I could ask your father if they were alive, and they would have a different version, guaranteed. And people don't like it when I say that. They don't. But it doesn't make it any less true. And friends, it doesn't invalidate your experience. No one can validate you other than you. Your past exists in your mind, right? Just as their past exists in their mind, right? And it's really important for us to understand that. And then there's what you make it mean about yourself and what you make it mean about your life, right? And what you make it mean about the world at large, and whether or not it is something that you can trust. Clients will tell me all the time that I have really old wounds. I have really old pain. I have a lot of hurt from my past. I'm harboring a lot of hurt. And there's no such thing. We have to know this. Feelings are always in the now. There's no such thing as past feelings or future feelings, right? And I've said that multiple times already on the conversation because it's so important for us to understand, because we have not been conditioned to think that this is true, okay? So again, no such thing as past feelings or future feelings. There's only now feelings because of now thoughts. You have a feeling that you experience in this moment. It's not an old feeling. It's not a feeling from when you were 8, right? And you're experiencing it all over again, okay? There's the feeling you had when you were 8, and that's over. And then there's the feeling that you have now. And the only way you can have a feeling now is if you think about something that causes you to have that feeling, right? You're not experiencing pain from the past. You're experiencing present pain, okay? The pain that you are creating with your mind today, okay? And it may be similar, right, to the pain that you had when you were 8 years old, but it is not the same. It is new pain, pain in this moment, pain that you are creating with your current thinking. And that is incredibly life changing to know. When I was writing my book, like I got my sister's experience, her recollection of the events that transpired growing up together, completely different from my thoughts that made up my experience. How could that be? Because we all have a different perspective of the experiences through the lens with which we see it. And it's really important for us to know that. Okay? So, the only pain you're experiencing is the pain that you are creating now. And you might say, and you might be inclined to say, that I went through this horrific thing, Leah. How can you possibly say that it isn't affecting me now? Okay. And I can say that with certainty because you cannot experience pain from your past. And it's the best news ever. Okay. Because that person that did that to you then cannot affect you now. The only way they can affect you now is if you think about them. And if you think a thought that creates pain for you, if you create a situation where you currently feel ashamed, okay, or a victim, or whatever it is, okay? So this is the best news that I have for you today, because if this is true, and it is, they have no more power over you. I have worked with so many clients who have experienced extreme abuse, okay, when they were children, and they are continually abusing themselves now, right? I have tremendous empathy and tremendous care and concern for all of my clients and all of humans and the entire world that have navigated very challenging and difficult experiences in their past. But I don't want them to continue to beat themselves up with it in the now, right? The physical abuse, the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, whatever it is long over. And yet so many times, so often, we are still perpetuating the emotional abuse in our mind. And for many of us, we don't even realize that we're doing it. And we're giving all of our power away to this person or people that abused us. And many times that person has either passed on, right? Or they're doing and they're navigating their own life in some way. And we just allow for them to take up that space and abuse us in our minds over and over and over again, right? And so I really wanted to share that it's really important that we understand that. So if this is true, Okay. How can we use our past in a way that allows us to stop causing ourselves pain? Okay. Well, first we have to take a look at it, right? And I'm not suggesting that you have to publish a book to do so, although it's a super fun goal. And it really opened up my eyes to the experiences, to the stories, and to the pain that I did not know that I was harboring. Okay. So we have to look at your past. How do we want to use it? Okay. It's yours. It's yours. No one can change it. You get to decide what you're going to make your past mean in your life. You get to decide whether you're going to be the hero of that story, using your past to shape the potential of your future, or the victim, using the past to confine you to an identity of pain. And here is the best news. You don't have to go to the past to heal it. You don't have to go back there. You just have to go to the now thoughts to understand it. Okay? There were lots of things that I couldn't even remember about my past. Like I couldn't remember lots and lots of things. I'm sure I probably blocked it all out. But I could just go to my now thoughts and make peace with whatever those thoughts were. And please also understand there are exceptions, right? If you have had tremendous physical and emotional trauma, like post-traumatic stress or anything related, those are not, friends, those are not the conditions that I'm speaking of. Okay. There's so much therapeutic and trauma healing that can be done. So if you've experienced any of those types of traumas, please invest in a good therapist because you deserve that level of healing. That is not, that's not what I'm talking about on this podcast. Nor do I claim to be a therapist of any kind, right? But most people come to me handcuffed to a painful story about their past and what they have made it mean about their life. And that is what I'm talking about. That is completely optional. You get to change the story. You could want to believe that your past has made you strong, that your past has made you capable, that it has made you that gritty, resilient person that you are today. And then once you think that and practice believing that, you could go look for evidence for it because you will find it. And then you get to retell your entire story of your life in the way that ultimately serves you. Okay. That gives you thoughts, that builds these feelings of positivity and strength. Okay. A story that allows you to kind of really be the beacon of hope for others, to allow your pain to be purposeful, to draw strength from struggle, and to remind yourself just how flippin' brave and courageous you are. You get to be the storyteller. You get to choose what you want to include or what you want to leave behind. You don't need a good reason to do so. You, my friend, are the reason to do so. You deserve the peace and the freedom, right? That sit truly on the other side of that painful story that leaves you unnecessary and stuck. Okay. I called this podcast Change Your Past. And the reason I did is to invite you to the opportunity to do just that. I realize that you're not able to go back and physically change what has happened in your past, but you absolutely get to change how you want to show up emotionally, mentally, with regards to it. You get to determine the meaning that you would like to give it. Nothing, truly, friends, nothing has been more powerful in the evolution of me than redefining my past. And you redefine your past by simply becoming aware of the story that you offer about it. Okay? Like I mentioned, there are going to be certain parts of the story that you keep and others that you get to retranslate into an opportunity for the growth and the expansion that lies on the other side of that chapter. Right? And one of my favorite exercises in doing this work is to look at what you have been consistently efforting to do, right? I want you to think about the New Year's resolutions that you have had for the past years, or decades, right? Is it the same thing? Is it the same thing? This is so fascinating. It's just mind blowing to me. Just how powerful we are. So I want you to think, what have been the things that you've been wanting to do, that you've been efforting to do for years, if not decades, right? Is it the same thing, right? Is it to lose weight? Is it to get healthier? Is it to get better sleep? Is it to be more patient? Is it to be less quick to temper? Is it to stop yelling at your kids? Is it to quit your job? Is it to hire a new team? Is it to start a new business? Is it to be a more effective leader? Is it to communicate better? Is it to write a book? Is it to start a podcast? Is it to, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Okay. If this has been a recurring resolution, I am guessing with 99% certainty, I like to give myself a percent to be wrong. There is something, some thoughts, some story, some belief that is keeping you from getting the result that you want. So for today, the work is to start believing that your past, okay, what you have done or not done, has zero impact on what is possible for your future. Okay? Whether or not you have never, ever, ever have been able to lose weight. Maybe you've never, ever, ever been able to manage your anger, or maybe you haven't started that podcast or wrote that book, right? Too many people use the excuse that they've never been able to, right? Or maybe they have and they've regained it back, or they started a podcast, but they couldn't get it going with any level of consistency. Okay. Your past successes and failures don't predict your future unless you believe that they do. And the reason that you are not making progress on your resolutions is because at some level, we don't believe progress is possible. That's it. Period. That is it. Because we have a story, a very painful story, that robs us from the invitation of our potential. That's it. That's what is going on. Doing this work, right? It seems easy enough, right? Change your belief that it's possible. Easier said than done. You want to know why? Because you can't believe in something new without redefining it. You can't pretend to believe. You can't fake a new belief. Believing new things, my friends, is a skill. It is a practice. It is an unlearning and rediscovering. But it's possible. And I know it is, because this is the work that I do every single day. Okay? So before we close out this conversation, I want to share with you and bring forward the concept of what I call the argument. We spend massive amounts of effort and time and resources arguing about our past. For many of us, we believe that it should have been different, right? That our childhood should have been different, that our friends should have been different, that our parents, our siblings, our teachers, our coaches, the list goes on and on, should all have been different. That our life should have been different, that we should have been different. All shoulds are lies. The past should have been exactly as it was. Do you know why I know this is true? Because it was. No amount of shoulding is going to change that. All shoulding is doing is robbing you of your peace, and it keeps you in denial of what is. Denial is the opposite of awareness. Denial is the very thing that is going to keep you telling the very painful story. Because if the story was different, there would be nothing for you to should all over. Every argument with your past is in an effort to win, so that you can right your pain, but it never can. Because being in pain is not winning. The work that I have done has allowed for so much freedom, right? And that work was to tell the story from the perspective of whomever I am shooting on, right? Who should have been better? Who should have been better for you? Who should have been different for you? For me, I had a whole list of them. And when I told the story from what could have been, right, from their perspective, what were they thinking about? What past stories were they held hostage in? What struggles were they navigating? Who were they shooting on? And I'm in no way, friends, justifying what they did. I just find it easier to get to compassion and understanding that hurt people. And shoulds of others blame tend to become shoulds of ourselves shame. And shame is never motivating. Shame never invites our best self to the party, to the experience our life. My dad was riddled in it. He truly believed that my brother should have been the son that he wanted. And my brother, Bob, was never going to be the son that my dad wanted. And because of that, my dad was never who he wanted to be. This was his trap. This is the argument that needs reconciliation. Okay? That reconciliation is available to you, my friends. I hope you choose it today, because living in the past, shackled by regret, shamed by all of your shoulds, is keeping you stuck, and it's robbing you of the potential for this moment, this present moment. And this present moment is the moment that is required for you to live into your future. So I hope you will choose that. I hope that you will stop arguing and negotiating the past with yourself and just choosing the beauty in the present of right now. You deserve that peace. I love you all very much. Have a beautiful, amazing day, and we will see you next show. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Rolling, where I share big ideas to inspire, impact, and influence your life. Tune in every Friday at 11 Central on transformationtalkradio.com for your morning cup of coffee, the hug you never want to end, and that inspirational message that you felt was written just for you. Each show is inspiring you to become you with purpose and intention. For more information or to connect with me, visit www.leahrolling.com.